Vegas. Sophie, stay off. Now these dogs love this kid, and this child loves these dogs, but there's some things we don't want to share. We don't want them sharing germs and saliva, and we don't want them sharing meals. So if I want to teach that to these dogs, I have to teach them to do something else instead. Whenever Ari's eating his supper or his lunch, if I'm here and these dogs are here, they've got to lie down. Good dog. Lie down. Vegas. Nothing else will do. Once I say it, they've got to go all the way. And as long as they lie down, I'll let them stay in the room with him when he's eating. But if they start to bother him, pester him, circle his chair, or try and beg or entice him to feed them, then they've got to go for a timeout. And that's the way you teach a dog not to beg and not to steal food from children. Come on, Sophie, timeout. Now, Vegas is being good, so Vegas gets to stay. But as soon as he cheats, he thought I wasn't looking. Vegas! As soon as he cheats, away he goes. And I'll just do that over and over and over again until they figure out that if they lie down, they get to stay. But if they don't lie down, they've got to leave Ari eat his food in peace. Right, right. Now sometimes Ari feeds the dogs, and that complicates things quite a bit. But I've taught the dogs that even if Ari says it's okay, my word is the last word, right? Right. That's right. So even when Ari's tempting them and holding food out to them, they're not allowed to take it unless I say yes. And it's working out really well. They're very respectful of him, and he's starting to learn to respect them too, aren't you? Doggy door is designed to keep messy, wet dogs out of the house and in the front area. It's also there to keep the baby safe, so we can latch it and make sure that our son can't let the dogs in when we're not there to supervise. Now, our dogs are really good with kids, but even with dogs that are good with kids, even after you've taught them a rule, sometimes they cheat, sometimes they're not quite gentle enough, and sometimes children get dogs into a situation where the dogs get scared. So you really have to be there all the time. These kinds of things are absolutely necessary to keeping dogs and kids safe from each other. And in the case of Vegas here, even though we've taught him not to jump on this barrier many, many times, our son actually tempts him to break the rules. And you'll find that a lot when you have kids and dogs together. So it's really important that you teach your child that not only the dog's going to suffer if the rules are broken. So if your child's being too rough with your dog, your child gets a timeout too. The fun is over, the dog goes to his timeout place, and your child goes to his bedroom or has to stop playing, because otherwise there's too much incentive for the kids to never respect the rules, and the dogs have to put up with too much. So a few things like some good borders, some good barriers, some good locks go a long way to making sure that your dogs and kids are together only when you're there to make sure they play nice. No dog, no matter how experienced, no matter how loving, can ever be trusted with kids alone. Kids push it too far. They corner the dog, they tease the dog, they tempt the dog to disobey the rules. Now in this case, all I have to do is make sure I never reward these dogs unless they're down. If they jump up, I ignore them, I don't pay attention to them, they get nothing. But if they get down, they get the world. They'll even get us coming out for a visit. So as you can see, Sophie's a puppy, and everything she finds she wants to put in her mouth. So what I have to do is I have to be careful that I don't scold her for bringing it to me or dropping it for me. Those are good things. I want her to return the things she steals. But I also have to make sure that I make playing with the toys she's allowed more fun than playing with toys that aren't hers. And so what I'll do is I'll always make sure that I have tennis balls handy. And whenever a dog grabs a toy they're not supposed to have, I take it away with just a couple of seconds of scolding, and if they bring it and drop it to me, I praise them for that. And then I give them what they're supposed to have, and I make it even more fun. So much more fun than the kids' toys. I make sure that frisbees and balls are so much more fun and get so much more attention than the things they're not allowed. And what happens is the dog learns really quickly. If they want to have fun, they should grab the dog toys. Now, in most houses, if the dog grabs the laundry, if he takes off with your socks or your favorite Barbie doll, that's when the dog gets noticed and chased. And we have to try really hard not to give in to that temptation. When the dog grabs the things we like, instead, we should go grab the dog toys and play and play and play until the dog can't stand it anymore. There you go. Good dog. Good dog. Very nice. Get your ball. Get your ball. Get your ball. Get your ball is a really important phrase for dogs to learn. Now here, she's grabbed another kid's toy. So I say, no, drop, go get your ball. Go get your ball. So I just make sure I'm nearby so they don't get too rough and they know he's there. Now these dogs know this child and they love this child. And I've already taught him he's not allowed to pull and he's not allowed to step on them, which is what he just did. And he's not allowed to get too rough. And they know that if he gets too rough, they're supposed to run away. And I'll intervene and I'll make it right for everybody. I never expect them to put up with much. And I never expect him to put up with much. They all have to be nice to each other. And I just make sure it's lots of fun. Whenever you've got kids and dogs playing together, you have to have lots of toys, lots of balls. If you don't have a ball, then the kid becomes the dog toy. So if you've got kids and dogs running around together, make sure the kids have a ball to play with. Throw it. Throw it. Good throw. Good throw. Good boy. Now, normal fetch manners are good for adults, but with kids we need extra fetch manners. So when Ari gets the ball, I make sure the dogs respect him. Here you go, Ari. Do you want it? And if I have to, I'll hold her collar so she doesn't jump all over him until he releases it. Wait. Good girl. Wait. Throw it, Ari. Throw it. Now, he's a bit of a tease, but that's okay. They tease too. Go get the ball, Ari. Go get the ball. Go get it. Go get that ball. Hey, okay, Sophie, go get it. Now, this is the kind of game that the kids and the dogs love. Yay! Go get it, Squeak. Go get it. Good girl. Good girl. So with a little bit of commands and a little bit of intervention, these two can play fetch great. But without some intervention, you can see how it would get wild too fast. Because he's small still. He's not even 2 years old. And at this stage, you really do have to help them play together nicely. Squeak, gimme. Good girl. Drop. Good girl. Sit. Good girl. Throw. Good girl. It doesn't hurt to show him how it's done a couple of times, too, and keep the dog excited about the game. So this dog's not as happy about playing with kids as our other dogs. He would rather guard the house and stay outside, maybe fetch a ball or two, but he doesn't really appreciate all the grabbing and pulling. So I have to make sure that I'm always there to make sure our son doesn't grab or pull or hurt the big dog. Make sure the big dog gets his space. It's really important that you have a timeout space, a place where your dog can go to get away from your children when your children get too rough. And when your dog makes that decision that he wants to go, which Thump is showing us now, you've got to give him a break and let him go. Let him get away from a kid who's getting a little too rough or a little too wild. Come on, Thump. Let's go. That a boy. That a boy. So when you watch dogs playing with each other, you'll notice if they like each other, they pull on each other and they bite on each other and they throw each other around and wrestle, just like these two are doing now. They'll pull each other's legs and grab each other's fur. They can handle a lot. And sometimes they don't put up with nearly as much from our kids, and they should. So we have to teach them tolerance. We have to touch them every day in all their parts and make sure they're used to our children, used to being touched by our children, and that they're never put in a position where they're hurt or afraid, so they never grow concerned about it. They know that as long as I'm here, the child will be fun and he won't hurt them. He'll just be one more person to love in our family. There are lots of toys that kids and dogs can play together, and this is a good example of it. You just have to teach the dog that she's not allowed to grab or steal. And what happens is the two of them, they both love this game. They both love to find the balls, watch the balls disappear, see the balls show up again. Come here, Squeak. Drop. Good girl. Okay, Squeak, get it. And as long as you're the one to tell her when it's her turn, it's easy to play together. Good dog. Come here. Yay! Slide. Good girl. So even something simple like a slide or a jungle gym at a playground can be used to entertain your kids and your dogs together. As long as you have some good rules and you make sure your dog knows he's not allowed to go until you tell him it's his turn. And just make sure that the kids and the dogs don't ever bunch up. But a trip to the park can be fun for everybody if you teach the commands first. Good girl, Squeak. Slide. Yeah, good girl, Squeak. It's nice to take advantage of opportunities like this to really praise your dogs for being good and calm around your children. And if he's going to lie on his back like this, I have to make sure that nothing nasty happens to him while he's acting this relaxed and carefree. Just make sure nobody steps on him. If there were lots and lots of children over, I'd make sure they didn't run around him when he's this relaxed. Make sure that the dogs and the kids always have a good time when they're together. And if it gets to be too much, just take the dog and give him a timeout. Give him some time alone. He'd prefer it to being in the middle of a kid scrum. If your dog doesn't know kids at all, or if he only knows a few kids and new kids are coming around to visit, it's good to start in small groups. And make sure you've always got a lot of toys. So if the dog wants to grab something, he can always grab a ball. Right, Ari? This is good. This is very good. Teach your kids and show your kids that it's never a good idea to pet a dog you don't know. Always ask the owner before you pet the dog and avoid dogs that are tied up alone, even if they seem friendly. Explain that even dogs they know can get scared or cornered or upset. Teach them to avoid dogs on very hot days and to stay away from dogs' food and water dishes, dog beds, and fenced yards. If you go visiting, ask the owner to pick up all food and water dishes before your kids play freely in the same area.